Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. CNN President Jeff Zucker suddenly announced his resignation, and the reason given is an office romance, but there are clearly more complex factors behind the scenes. Former anchor Chris Cuomo, who was fired by CNN, plays a big role here. The Canadian government is still at loggerheads with the truckers. The fringe minority, as Trudeau calls them, appears to have many supporters. In contrast, Trudeau is in a much worse position. The Beijing Olympics are coming, but none of what Beijing wants to achieve with the Olympics is likely to happen. Okay, let's get into it. CNN President Jeff Zucker announced his resignation on Wednesday after his office romance with CNN Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer Allison Gollust came to light. Zucker wrote in a memo to his colleagues, as part of the investigation into Chris Cuomo's tenure at CNN, I was asked about a consensual relationship with my closest colleague, someone I have worked with for more than 20 years. I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As a result, I am resigning today. Gollust joined CNN in February of 2013 after serving for several months as communications director for former governor Andrew Cuomo. She released a statement shortly after saying that she and Zucker had been professional colleagues for over 20 years, but the relationship changed during COVID. One insider calls the comment a total lie. The source told the New York Post they've been together for years. Few people believe this is the real reason for Zucker's resignation. The New York Post reported that Zucker and Gollust had been rumored in the media for at least 5 years, but the two had repeatedly and vehemently denied they had a relationship. Another insider said Cuomo was the reason Zucker had to resign. Cuomo's lawyers previously denied that they tried to blackmail or threaten Zucker by leaking details of his affair with Gollust. But CNN's Brian Stelter told the public another version of the story. He said Cuomo was threatening to burn it all down and reveal incriminating information on Zucker and Gollust.
The Chris Cuomo reference. Cuomo was fired in December, and he is not going out quietly. He was fired, and there were reports that he wasn't going to get paid the millions of dollars that were going to be on the remainder of his contract. So as a source said to me earlier today, he was trying to burn the place down. He was going to court trying to burn the place down and claiming that he had incriminating information about Zucker and Gollust. So if that's the case, if this is a domino effect that begins with Andrew Cuomo going down in the governor's office, and then Chris Cuomo being fired from CNN, and then Jeff Zucker losing his job at CNN, that is a remarkable domino effect, a chain of events. I think that is part of the story.
CNN stands amid a host of scandals lately. Cuomo was fired from CNN in December of 2021 for helping his brother, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, develop a strategy to combat sexual harassment allegations made by a group of staffers and former aides. In addition, the Gateway pundit has compiled a long list of former senior CNN employees involved in sex scandals. Anchor Don Lemon is accused of sexual assault. Producer Rick Salibi solicited underage photos and is under criminal investigation. Producer John Griffith is facing federal sex crime charges involving children. Chief legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin exposed himself during a virtual meeting with colleagues. It's terrible to have such a bunch of morally corrupt people dictating what kind of information we receive every day. It's no wonder we have a hard time seeing truthful and credible reporting in the mainstream media. CNN has been struggling with poor ratings compared to the same period a year ago. Its ratings were down by almost 90% in early January of 2022. Zucker's departure will throw CNN into even more chaos. Of course, this is not bad news for the public. We need honest and unbiased media. While many truckers remain in Ottawa, the truck blockade at the Canada-U.S. border in southern Alberta is in its 4th day. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, has announced that it will take action to remove vehicles blocking traffic, but local tow truck companies, large and small, are simply not cooperating, according to a report from the Western Standard. Police have asked local towing companies to help remove vehicles participating in the border blockade, And one of the largest towing companies in the area has said that they do not want to participate. The Standard interviewed a number of towing companies in southern Alberta, including those in Calgary, Lethbridge, and Medicine Hat. They all said they did not want to be involved. One of the companies, Citywide Towing, even mentioned it had sent tow trucks to support drivers who were stuck in the blockade rather than assist the authorities. A worker from a small local towing company said that a lot of these small companies don't want to ruin their reputation in the communities that they serve. If they help the government, local residents will no longer give them business. Ottawa's mayor faces the same issue. A truck driver posted a video on Twitter.
Okay, I was just talking to a local that lives right here in Ottawa. He's been here for 30 years. He knows what's happening. And he told me that the mayor of Ottawa he called the tow truck companies to start towing these semis off from the streets. And every company said they have COVID.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Justin. We'll be gone by yesterday.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed his exasperation when he said everyone is exhausted, but I'm sure he's the one who is exhausted. The truckers and the people who support them are still full of energy. A group of Polish immigrants from Toronto traveled to Ottawa to offer food to the truckers. They brought Polish sausages, bread and buns, and Polish donuts, and they plan to come regularly.
Because we stand behind them. We come from communist country and we came here because we didn't want to have oppression. We wanted to live in a free country, and for the last 2 years we're living like prisoners. We are being told to stay at home. We're told not to go to the restaurant, not to go to the church. I mean, this is unbelievable. During communism times, we were able and free to go to the church. And there were times over here where we couldn't. So I really can't take it anymore. So I'm going to be coming here with the food weekly, bi-weekly, every 2 or 3 days until it ends.
But even if these truckers leave, the trouble will be far from over. In Quebec alone, several convoys are forming to hit the road, saying that they're going to go to the front of the local National Assembly later this week to challenge COVID-19 restrictions and mandates. Trudeau has repeatedly emphasized that vaccines and lockdowns are the most scientific means of controlling outbreaks. This is what most countries have done over the past 2 years. As many as 186 countries have implemented various lockdown measures to try and limit the spread of the COVID-19 virus. However, according to a literature review and meta-analysis of the effects of the lockdowns on COVID-19 mortality, published by Johns Hopkins Institute for Applied Economics, by Global Health, and by the Study of Business Empire, these lockdowns reduced the COVID-19 death rate by only 0.2% in the United States and Europe. Shelter-in-place orders were also ineffective. They only reduced COVID mortality by 2.9%. Steve Hanke of the Johns Hopkins Institute, along with Jonas Herby, special advisor at the Center for Political Studies in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Lars Jonung, professor of economics at Lund University in Sweden, concluded that there's zero evidence to support lockdowns. The researchers stated, while this meta-analysis concludes that lockdowns have had little to no public health effects, they have imposed enormous economic and social costs where they have been adopted. The authors point out that the lockdown policy is unfounded. Such policy tools should be rejected by all industries. I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support of Front Page. Your donation and your membership subscription help us to keep telling you the truth. Every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, please double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. We've heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore. So follow us on Telegram, Gab, and Getter for the latest updates. All the links are in the description. Okay, let's get back into it. The use of vaccine passports has also been debated in many countries. Few studies have been carried out to determine whether vaccine passports actually lower the number of COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, or deaths. Israel, one of the most vaccinated and boosted nations in the world, will end the COVID-19 vaccine passport soon. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's government has decided to abolish the Green Pass for restaurants, hotels, gyms, and theaters. The policy update will come into effect on Sunday, February the 6th. Nadav Davidovich, the health advisor in the Prime Minister's government, said to continue the Green Pass in the same way can create false assurances. It's not reducing infections in closed spaces like theaters. Some Israeli ministers have argued that there is no justification for extending the vaccine passport system. Amid an international boycott, the Winter Olympics are to be held in Beijing, but this time the Games will be a cold and awkward experience. Empty stadiums, a ban on foreign visitors, and a harsh Communist Party policy of zeroing in on the pandemic have left foreign spectators and most Chinese fans without a chance to watch the Games. The CCP intended to use the 2022 Winter Olympics for propaganda purposes, but with the COVID-19 pandemic and the Communist Party's poor human rights record, the ratings for the Games, influence, and attention may have hit the skids. Some Western countries have said that they will not send official delegations because of the pandemic and the human rights situation in China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has released a list of only 32 international dignitaries and heads of international organizations attending the Beijing Winter Olympics, along with a number of celebrities that the Communist Party itself has fostered. In comparison, the 2008 Summer Olympics were attended by 54 heads of state, 16 heads of government, 9 royal representatives, 1 regional head, and 4 first ladies. Compared with the grand event back then, we can also see that the world is now trying to avoid getting too close to the CCP. In the official list published by the CCP, the only EU member states sending government officials are Poland and Luxembourg. The only EU head of state, Polish President Andrzej Duda, was infected with COVID-19 in early January. And other countries have either said that they will not send senior government officials to the Games because of pandemic prevention or other concerns. Others, such as Germany, said nothing, but neither will they send government officials. Putin's name was not prominent in the list of VIPs in 2008, but this time he's at the top of the list. This shows the importance that Beijing attaches to this friend who has expressed support amid the crisis. As we analyzed in one of our membership videos, Putin's presence at the Winter Olympics is not to show that he is a friend of the CCP, but that he has his own agenda, most importantly, to get Xi Jinping's silence on the border situation in Ukraine. Relatively more heads of state from neighboring Asian countries are attending the Olympics, but Kim Jong-un, considered by the CCP as its most loyal ally, said he would not attend. Pro-Beijing South Korean President Moon Jae-in will not show up either. He has sent the Speaker of the National Assembly as his representative. Countries such as Singapore and Mongolia also sent lower-level government dignitaries than they did for the 2008 Games. More interestingly, African countries that have received years of funding from the CCP are also not sending officials. The CCP, which plans to debut its digital currency during the Olympics, has pressured major U.S. brand names such as McDonald's and Nike to accept digital yuan payment methods during the Games. But the lack of foreign visitors and the need for Olympic participants to be subject to closed-loop management will put a damper on any of these high-profile moves that the CCP has planned. NBC will still broadcast the Olympics primarily on television and through Peacock streaming, but it is not yet clear how many viewers it will attract. Many of the big Olympic brand sponsors have decided not to run ads with specific Olympic content in favor of general brand marketing content to avoid human rights criticism. Despite all of these problems and the diplomatic boycotts, China is trying every way to defuse the tension, but why? Recently, we uploaded a video about this topic on our membership site. I want to show you the trailer. The Chinese Communist Party is taking next year's Beijing Olympics very seriously. With more and more countries diplomatically boycotting the Olympics, the CCP is using every trick in the book to try to diffuse mounting tension. But why would the CCP take a sporting event so seriously? The Olympics is an opportunity for the regime to demonstrate its soft power to the world. It also wants to show off the Chinese athletes' achievements in international sports, hence increasing patriotic sentiment and enhancing the party's image at home. However, these aren't the reasons why the communist regime is so worried about countries boycotting the Olympics. The real reason is that the CCP wants to use the Games to promote its state-backed digital currency known as the digital renminbi or the digital yuan. And there are huge global ambitions behind the move. We will get into it in an exclusive episode on our membership site, frontpageshow.com. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video and share it with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.